What's up, everybody? Tony Cutillo here. Tony Cutillo Show. The Eagles are still the best team in the NFC, man. Like, again, live right here, like we always do on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitch, on X, you name it. Like, subscribe, you know the deal. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. I wanted to get on here because usually do a show on Monday nights, live from Pike's Pub. But tonight was a little different. Had a big event tonight, which was fantastic. Met a lot of fantastic people, small business owners, entrepreneurs, just a really good mix of people that are trying to do big things. And I was asked to speak for a couple minutes. I did that, talk some sports, right? Talk some birds. And again, I mean, one of the biggest things is everybody's so torn about this game. And I honestly, I don't know why. We're still the best team in NFC. I mean, teams have to lose, right? They have to lose. Again, if you want to get involved, you want to be on the program, as always, comments will always be open. But as always, I will post the link in the chat if you would like to call, get on the program. It's a late night talk here, right? If you would like to call and get on the program, very, very easy. All you need to do is click on that link on your phone, and boom, you'll be in the green room. What are you thinking about the birds right now? What are you thinking about the NFL in general? Because this is just not just Philly, right? A lot of storylines in the NFL, a lot of different. I mean, that was a garbage game tonight, right? I mean, anybody watched that garbage game tonight? It was like, man, I was like, I got home, I put it on, obviously, because I got some bets on the game. But it's like, man, come on. Like, it was just a terrible, terrible, terrible game, right? But Packers win, as always, like we thought they would against the Saints, and Spencer Rattler. What do we say? Like, what do we say about Spencer Rattler, right? Again, I it was 12 for 30. It happens. I get it, right? I get it. Nobody said he was going to be, the starting quarterback. Obviously, injuries happen. It's a part of the NFL. But what I will say is, I think everybody, the best thing I did for myself was not listen to the radio. Like, honestly. And again, I listen to all radio, right? I'll take the pulse of the city. I listen to a ton of national radio on Sirius NFL radio. I love it. You get an unbiased take for the most part. And, I'm so glad that I didn't tune it in, because I could just see what was going on the timeline. I saw on Facebook, like, I know everybody wants to have an opinion, and everybody's going to say, well, we need to worry about this. We need to worry about that. But this team is still built to win now. This team is still built to win. And I do say this with a lot of conviction. The team that wins 9, 10, 11 in a row, you're setting yourself up for an extremely tough task. And that is to win week in and week out. And I get it, right? You didn't want to lose in that fashion. And I get it that you don't want to lose at all. But I do feel like on one of these games, Washington, Dallas, the Giants, was going to have to be a loss. And I wanted it to be a loss because I did not want to go into playoffs, springing off 13 in a row and not knowing what it felt like to lose again. I think that's something that you really have to take a lot of consideration into. Teams, no matter how good you are, no matter how dominant you are, you still have to understand what it's like to lose. And if you don't feel that for a long period of time, I'll tell you what, man, like, no matter if you say one game at a time, 1 week at a time, one team at a time, in my opinion, it doesn't matter. You can get lackadaisical. You can still get to a point where you don't know what that feeling is. And when you feel that, it just refuels you. It re-energizes you. So I get it. We're not going to be the number one seed, but here's the thing about the number one seed. Before we even played this game, it was a 35% chance that we could have been a number one seed. Not 70, not 80, not 90, 35%. Honestly, like at the end of the day, they weren't great percentages, right? They were not great percentages. So again, when I look at that, I say, why are we all getting crazy? Right? Why are we all getting crazy? Because odds are it may have not happened anyway. And now you take in consideration, or not in consideration, but you take heed that, or take solace in the fact that you lost and you understand what it is to lose again. And you could say it's a shitty take. You could say it's a crappy opinion. Honestly, I don't really care. I didn't get into this, into this business, to say what's good and what's not, and worry about what your opinion is. But what I will say again is, if it had to happen, I'd much rather it happen now. Very, very simple. I'd much rather it happen now, and it did. So now we move on, and our quarterback is a concussion protocol, right? So we'll see how that, exactly. My man David checking this says we're fine. Just a wake up call to be better, and that's exactly the way I feel. 100%. Now there's a guy who doesn't listen to sports radio, because if he did, he'd probably have a different take. Now I'm just kidding, Dave, because you're right. I mean, that's a rational thought. I'm not used to rational people, right? That is a rational thought. This team is still extremely dominant. This team is light years ahead. I will continue to say this, and I will continue to echo the same statements that I've been for X amount of years. I need to look at two things when I get to the playoffs. Okay. Yes, our defense, spot on, but that's not one of those things. I need to look at the quarterback and the head coach. That's what I need to look at. Like, because that is what's going to win you games. The quarterback and the head coach. And if I look in the NFC and I say, if I take quarterback and coach tandem, I can tell you what, Jared Goff and Dan Campbell aren't on the top of my list. Okay. Sam Darnold and Kevin O'Connell are not on the top of my list. Now, I will say, now you guys know how I feel about Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay, but the team that played tonight has a very sneaky appeal to them if you look at Jordan Love and Matt LaFleur. I think that is a very, very sneaky team. And again, a team that's getting stronger as these weeks go on. You have to remember that Jordan Love obviously was injured early in the year. And he's getting stronger every week. It's the guy who threw 30 plus touchdowns last year. Like, you just don't wake up and just forget how to throw the ball. Okay. 30 plus touchdowns last year. And not to mention, they go all in and they have one of the best running games in football behind a beast in Josh Jacobs. That is a team, in my opinion, that is sneaky good that we may have to worry about. I still worry about the Rams. Listen, I don't know who we're going to play. I don't know how the seating is going to be, but all I know is, looking at the entire landscape of the NFC, I am not afraid of anybody. I'm 100% certain that we are the best team in the NFC. I don't care what happened last week. It doesn't matter, right? If you just look at it, you're talking, again, 6-1 at home, 6-2 on the road. Okay. We have one loss. People, one loss. And stop again. Can we stop this? this Tampa Bay narrative. I did hear a lot of people talking too about the Tampa Bay narrative, and the narrative was, oh, well, Todd Bowles is the kryptonite to Jalen Hurts, and Todd Bowles is the reason why we're not going to move on. And listen, I love Todd Bowles. I think Todd Bowles is one of the most underrated coaches in all of the NFL. I do. And if you don't know me, you'll know that I am a huge Baker Mayfield guy, and I love what Tampa Bay is doing. And I think that Todd Bowles needs to get consideration for Coach of the Year. He's a name that nobody's even mentioning. The amount of injuries that he's dealt with this year in Tampa Bay, people forget what he's been able to do. And he's the guy who calls the defense, and that defense has been atrocious at times. But at times, again, injuries matter. They still got guys like Vita Vea in the middle. Okay, they still got guys like Levante David just continuing to do it with at the middle linebacker position. Again, it's just a lot of things going on in the NFL. My man Japan checking in says it's go time. My man Japan, as always, I saw him getting on Coach. Coach finally got into the club. It looks like he got into the first touchdown club, which I love. Maybe I'll get there one day. We shall see. But listen, going down the NFL, like I like to do, again, obviously, if you want to get involved in the conversation, we're talking NFL, we're talking Eagles, we're talking NFC. Just from an NFC standpoint, breaking down week 16. What happened this week in the NFC? What is there stuff to look at? And again, the Eagles, in my opinion, are still the best team in the NFC. Whether you're Philly or not, if you don't think that they are, I need you to tell me why. I need a very logical reason on why. Minnesota, I hear a lot of people talking about O'Connell should get Coach of the Year consideration. I think Kevin O'Connell is a fantastic coach. I do. However, I am not taking Kevin O'Connell in a big situation game because I am not trusting Sam Darnold. Like, you can call it hate. You can say whatever you want. The guy, yes, he has a resurgence. Yes, he's been unbelievable. But again, you can't tell me that if the game is on the line, that you're trusting Sam Darnold. I get it that he's going to have to prove it, but I just cannot trust Sam Darnold. My man RJ says healthy. Okay. Now, Joe, let me ask you this. Now, right now, though, I agree. Listen, healthy. I will not doubt you on that one. If you still have Hutchinson out there running around, if you still have David Montgomery, if you haven't lost some of those key defensive pieces on that team, listen, Aaron Glenn is a hell of a defensive coordinator. He was a hell of a corner as well for the New England Patriots for all those years. But Aaron Glenn, okay, he's been able to do everything he can, but now it's kind of caught up. Right. So I will say this. I will give you that a healthy Lions team is a notch above. But here's my issue. And again, this is my logic of thinking. When I go into the playoffs, I look at the coach and the quarterback. And I'm just not comfortable with Dan Campbell and Jared Goff. I'm just not. I'm not. Again, I love Ben Johnson. I think Ben Johnson is the remember when Joe Brady? We were all talking about Joe Brady a couple years ago, right? How he was really changing the game a little bit, and he was the next offensive guru. Well, Ben Johnson's that guy, and I honestly don't think Ben Johnson desires to be a head coach. I don't. I think Ben Johnson is that guy that says, I know my role. I love to just devise an offensive scheme that nobody can beat and nobody can defend. And I don't really think he goes anywhere. But however, I look at him and then I look at the Eagles and I keep comparing the Eagles because I feel, not because I am a homer, not because I am in Philly. I just think that hands down, I would much rather have this staff as a whole and this quarterback. Now, Joe says Campbell, if you get back going in for 4th and 10, is a reason you can't. See, And I completely agree. Right? I completely agree. However, though, the crazy thing is, I watched it the other day with Seattle. I watched this is the kind of recklessness I'm going to say is within the NFL now, and it's a big reason why the kickers are missing kicks because they're not being used, right? But you have to understand, like somehow, some way, when you get all that adrenaline going and you get all that stuff pumping inside of you, like Dan Campbell does, right? Like Dan Campbell does. I think that and this is why I said staff, I think you need that staff to be the ones to calm you down, right? And my man Japan checking it says, Cam reminds you when I play Matt. And he is. He's like the guy with the controller, right? And says, I'm never punting. I'm just going for it all the time. Again, though, the problem is the playoffs are a different animal. And this is why I say staff. And I think you guys will agree with this. And again, this is the Tony Cutillo Show live. Make sure you like, subscribe on YouTube. Get over there to the Tony Cutillo Show. Big, 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 big things planned for 2025, boys. Honestly, for this show, I can't wait. Again, real fast to pivot here before I get back to Dan Campbell. The whole point of this show was to be something beyond just the norm. Okay, meaning we're just not like, again, it's not just Philly. It's not just sports, right? There's going to be other topics we talk about. Obviously, we'll talk sports betting. Obviously, we talk DFS, we talk fantasy, but it's all going to be segmented, right? So you have the jigsaw pieces that are the parlays and the picks and the props, sports betting, okay, and DFS, obviously. You see the comments or the shows on VSiN that are sports betting and DFS driven, but I also have other insight to where I want to bring people on. Like I'll give you, for instance, and I'm not going to say who, but there was a big story in my area about a few parents that for years were stealing thousands and thousands of dollars from their youth sports club. Now, I have a youth podcast called Fighting for Overtime that we're going to insert into the Tony Cutillo Show, where I talk about my experiences in youth sports, but I also interview former athletes, current college coaches. I'm going to have these people on that were part of that club to give us the inside. Like news channels aren't getting this. We're getting that here. Like I've reached out to these people on my own. Like this isn't going to be on the news. It's going to be here first. Like I can legitimately say that the Tony Cutillo Show is going to be a source of other information. And I want to do that because I want to bring, they're really cool stories and very interesting information. So big things coming in 2025. I'm working on that as we speak. But to get back to Dan Campbell, the playoffs are a different animal. It's a different game, man. It's a different game script. It's a different ideology, different circumstances, different time management, so many different things that come into play. And I don't trust him. And he looks like that guy. Okay. And I don't, and this is going to sound biased because he's a big dude and he's very fiery, but he's just like that kind of guy that says, yo, I don't give a you know what. I'm going to do what I want to do. Even though he has staff going, Dan, you can't do that. Dan, you got to calm down, Dan. And he's just doing it. And I think that's the problem. And honestly, I think that's what happened in Philadelphia a little bit with Sirianni last year. And it started to happen again this year. They went on to buy and they've controlled it. And he's been better ever since. And the team has been better ever since. So that's why I trust him, man. Yo, man, listen, Japan, like I said, there are going to be certain things. I want to do things differently, right? I want to do things differently. I did a piece on, Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark that got a huge, like my best view so far. And again, we're talking, this is just in the beginning, okay? Like we just hit 355 subscribers. Right. I'm not ashamed of anything. Like I enjoy every single one of my subs, but again, I'm growing this organically. We're doing this like Japan's on the program. My man Jimmy's on the program, Jimmy Mack, bringing other people on. Like it's all about different storylines, right? And Olden Polynice, which a former NBA player, came in and he really he really injected his presence into the to that story. Well, I've reached out, man. I've reached out, and I may get Olden Polynice on this show to be able to comment on that, which I think will be huge. My man Sia checking in says, "Watch out for the Packers." Yep, see you. That's what I said, man. That's what I said. Like that's the one team. Like, and that's why I mentioned earlier, say before you checked in. I look at head coach and quarterback, and I look at the head coach quarterback combos in the NFC, and I say to myself, who scares me, right? Who scares me? And my idea, listen, no disrespect to your boys in Washington. I have a lot of respect for Dan Quinn. Okay. But again, Jaden Daniels is susceptible to rookie mistakes. So I'm not taking Jaden Daniels and Dan Quinn. I'm not taking Jared Goff and Dan Campbell. I'm not taking Sam Darnold and Kevin O'Connell. Okay. However, I will take Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay. I will take Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni, but I also will take Matt LaFleur and Jordan Love. And I think a lot of people are overlooking the Packers. And the Packers are starting to get stronger. They're starting to get stronger. Like I said, remember, this team has dealt with a ton of injuries. Number one, we watched it in Brazil in game week 1. Philadelphia Eagles, Green Bay Packers, right? Jordan Love out. That kind of injury when he's already coming off that kind of that takes extra time. People think that just because to be able to sit there and tell me that you watched Jordan Love when he came back that first week, he was not the goddamn same, man. He was not the goddamn same. We knew it was going to take him some time. And again, they have a rejuvenated running game, man. Sometimes, and I said this in the preseason, and I love every minute of it, man, because I'm a huge Aaron Jones guy. But I just thought that team needed somebody that was more powerful. And they thought A.J. Dillon could have eventually been that guy, but it wasn't. Okay? And it wasn't. So what they did was they go out, and I thought they made a brilliant move, and they bring in Josh Jacobs, who is a grinder, a pounder. Oh, and by the way, I mentioned this before in the offseason, not to pat myself on the back, but I will every now and then, because if nobody else promotes me, I'm going to promote me. I mentioned about Josh Jacobs being a much better pass catcher than people gave him credit for. And now you're seeing it. He's catching 3, 4, 5 catches a game, and he looks very comfortable out there, man. This rejuvenated running game is built for the playoffs. It is, right? That's another reason why I like the Packers as well as a very sneaky NFC team. When you get into playoffs, it's a different vibe. It's a different scheme. It's a different set of circumstances. It's a different game flow, right? Right? Yeah. Well, Japan knows, right? And I'm not right on everything, but when I'm right, I like to say I'm right? And when I'm wrong, I'll tell you I'm wrong. Okay, I'll tell you 100% I'm wrong. Now, I'll tell you what, I made for you fantasy people out there. Okay, I'm gonna pat myself. Championship next week, baby. We are going for the championship. But I made an interesting move this week. I benched Derrick Henry. Right? I benched Derrick Henry and I put in Chase Brown. Now, again, people said, dude, you're out of your mind. You're probably right. But again, I had the depth and I had to look at Derrick Henry as becoming touchdown dependent all of a sudden, right? Lamar really starting, okay? Really, really starting. So, again, it worked out. Now, Chase Brown got 15. Derrick Henry got 21. So I lost, but luckily those 6 points didn't hurt me. Okay. I have a very strong team this year. A very, very strong team. So again, I have, just so everybody knows, I mean, this team that I have, you're not going to see anymore. Like, I'll be honest with you. Like, real quick, I will tell you that it is a 10-man league, and 2 guys dropped out at the last second. So we decided to just roll with 8, which means monster rosters, right? But that means monster rosters for everybody. Well, unfortunately, I think some guys were sleeping at the wheel. Okay. But I stuck to my methodology that I was on serious for the entire offseason and talked about the guys I would draft when I would draft. Okay. So just to give you an idea, my running backs, Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, Devon A-Chain, Chase Brown, DeAndre Swift. Okay. Very, very comfortable with those guys. Okay. So again, my quarterbacks, Justin Herbert, CJ Stroud. My receivers, Puka Nacua, Nico Collins, Terry McLaurin, Malik Neighbors, just to name a few. My tight end, Brock Bowers. My defense, Pittsburgh Steelers. Oh, by the way, I had George Pickens as well. My kicker, Chris Boswell. And then I dropped Boswell and picked up my man, Mr. Bates from Detroit. So, again, I got a really good squad, okay? Anything can happen. I get it. Now, I will say this. Luckily for the bye, I had the first round bye. That was the week my team shit the bed that I didn't play. Thank God. That the team shit the bed. All of us, every single person on that team didn't do anything. Yeah, I mean, every single person, again, didn't do anything. So, luckily I had the bye. But that's the way fantasy football works, right? So even though I had the 8-man squad, the other teams had the 8-man squad. They just, again, it just didn't draft right. They went a lot based on what they were hearing. And a lot of people do that. And I get it. Like, not everybody can sit there and put the time in, and people like us in Japan see it, do, because we love what we do. And again, we aspire to do this more and more to a bigger audience, right? So we're going to consistently do a little more than a lot of other people. And everything I saw, just, again, it played out that way. So we'll see what happens next week. But either way, I'm already guaranteed some winnings, which is great. I can't wait because, like I do every year, I donate half of it. So I'll keep half and I'll donate the other half. I'm a big donator to St. Jude. I think St. Jude is a remarkable charity that does fantastic work. I've known a lot of people that have been hit by that bug. And again, it's real. It's real. So looking at the NFL in general, as you know, or I should say the NFC, what do you think is going to go on, with this NFC West? I think it's very, very intriguing because, again, Seattle's lost 2 in a row. And I told you guys a few weeks ago that the one team that I was really, really enamored with was the Los Angeles Rams. Now, as always, right? As always, and I will say this with true conviction here. I brought it up a month ago, and all of a sudden, other people start talking about 2 weeks after that. You're too late, people. You got to be early. Like, it's okay to talk about things that are trending, but the whole thing is, if you want to be out front and center, you kind of got to do some work before, right? You got to do some work before. Kind of look ahead a little bit. Look ahead. And I saw this team was trending in the right direction. Seeing a team that was getting their players healthy. Seeing a team that was starting to click, right? I mean, you're giving Sean McVay. I mean, look at Tyler. Shout out Tyler Higbee, too. Okay? Comes back from the ACL. Nobody knew he was going to come back this year. Comes back this year. Not only comes back, catches a touchdown. Man, again, another piece of the puzzle out there for the Rams. Another person that got healthy. Puka, Cooper, right? I mean, you have guys like Tutu Atwell. You got a veteran, Demarcus Robinson. Now, okay, you have Tyler Higbee. You also had Colby Parkinson that was playing very important snaps. Why? Higbee was hurt. And then Kyron Williams, who could be the best kept secret in all of the NFL. And now you're so smart, you're starting to get Blake Corum more and more involved. Man, this Rams team is scary. Okay. And their defense full of guys that not everybody knows about is, I'll tell you what, man, they're playing well. They're playing well. They're getting strong. They're getting strong, and they're getting strong at the right time. And, I continue to say that is a sneaky team that we need to watch. That is a sneaky team that we need to watch. Okay. So, I look at the other division. Rams are coached well too. Yep. Sean McVay. You always go to that. You always go to the coaches. That's what I'm saying. Like, when you go to playoffs, it's about coaching, man. Like, the playoffs is about coaching. Simple coaching. Because remember this, you don't get no second chances, man. Like, the Eagles lost this week in a slugfest, right? A slugfest. Tip the hat to Washington. They won the game. Okay. Eagles are still the better team, but Washington won the game. It's an NFC East battle. And guess what? Shout out to Dan Quinn, because Dan Quinn put on an absolute chess match with time management with that last drive. Ridiculous. Okay. So shout out to Dan Quinn. But you need the coach to send you to the next round when it comes to the playoffs. And, I look at those teams and they're the coach I like. Now, I want to give a quick on the Atlanta Falcons. As I think the Atlanta Falcons, they had to make the move that they did. I think they knew it. I think they were gun shy about it, but they finally did it. And that was obviously to put Michael Penix in there, who I couldn't wait to see play, because you guys know, I told you, I hope everybody, I told you what Kirk Cousins was, man. I told you what Kirk Cousins was, right? So again, you saw what happened. And Kirk Cousins, got to give a shout out to, because he's been very professional about it. Why wouldn't he? He's guaranteed contracts, get the best agent in the world, right? Yep, we call what they do exactly. And Japan was there, right? Japan was there. He was live last Monday. We called it that day. We knew what was happening, right? We knew what was happening. And the kid looked good, man. Like, the kid looked good. And can we give a quick talk about the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons, Raheem Morris, doing a fantastic job out there, motivating those kids out there, okay, getting that defense the ball out. He is a defensive coach, right? Making these decisions, these hard decisions. That's what that's what you have to say, man. That is, when you are a head coach. I will say this, and Vic Fangio mentioned it as a D coordinator, right? But when you're a head coach and you have the balls to make decisions based on talent evaluation and not contractual commitments, kudos to you, man. Because that's what Raheem Morris did. Raheem Morris said, I don't give a shit what this guy's getting paid. I don't care. I need to win football games, because you know what? I'm sitting in a division that's wide the frig open. Okay? It's wide open. And by the way, he's 4-1 in the division. So if that came down to a tiebreaker, guess what? He's 4-1 in the division. I'm just saying, they're going to make it interesting. And you look at that Atlanta team and seeing what Kirk Cousins did, okay, for the last few weeks before he was benched, I'll tell you, man, you got to give it hats off. It's just say, you know what? We are in a playoff hunt, but guess what? I think that our quarterback that we guaranteed a ton of money to is a problem. And I'm ready to say, you know what? I'm going with the Rook. But why did it take so long? You know what? I think Japan, honestly, I agree, but I think it was a strategic thing to where you have a quarterback like Kirk Cousins who played well for the first 4 or 5 weeks, right? You say to yourself, okay, we're going to give him a little longer leash, give him longer leash because I know it's there. I know it's there. I know. But then eventually you saw that it just was never coming back around. You saw that this was not going to end well if you continued to keep him in there. And you had to make that call. And now it's almost like a fail-safe call, right? When you think about it. And I don't disagree, right? So you look at it, and no matter what happens, Raheem Morris isn't a scapegoat because what he says is, and what everybody's going to say, he had to make the move, right? They're saying he had to make the move. It's not his fault. He had to make a move. It was to the rookie, right? But the good thing is, what I will commend him for and that staff, they had him ready. Like Michael Penix was ready to play. That again, he didn't look lost. He didn't go out there and throw a bunch of picks. He went out there and he looked ready. Japan says, I would have had a choker on him. Speaking about Kirk Cousins, he was like, yo, give him the yank, man. Like, give him the yank. But yes, Japan says, yes, 100%. Yeah, he was 100% ready, man. 100% ready. I think he was fantastic. I do. And he's only going to get better. Only going to get better. And by the way, let's add in a little betting tip here. Okay. Because again, we do the betting show like we always do. Oh, and by the way, let's throw us up there, man. Like again, we hit a banger. Okay, there's the jigsaw. That I love this graphic, by the way. My artist is awesome, but we hit a plus 1,500 parlay yesterday. Okay, that, by the way, we did that live on YouTube. Okay, we talked about these plays live on YouTube. So we banged that out. Okay. We banged out the other 3 plays we talked about on YouTube. Oh, and by the way, we hit the 2+ money bets as well. Okay. So I will say this. The reason why I bring that up is because the rushing for Michael Penix. Okay. The rushing for Michael Penix. His attempts were only over 2.5. Like, do you not know who Michael Penix is? He's a raw athlete. Of course, he's going to run. I think he had like 5 or 6. I mean, we crushed that. So again, you're the things you have to look at. Japan says a rookie has, and puts in caps, never covered 8.5 spread on his first start. Crazy. Check that out. There's a great insight to the show by our guy Japan. And make sure you're giving Japan a follow too on Twitter. Okay, make sure you follow him on Twitter. Again, always great friend of the program, great friend of the Tony Cutillo Show, part of the Tony Cutillo Show program. Okay, and all he does is chop it up, man. He chops it up from anything from UFC to WNBA. Give him a follow at JPAN_5 at JPAN. Okay, so JPAN_5. Check him out. He's always in the betting market. And yeah, man, like again, I like what he was doing. I like Penix. I think that was a bold decision, and it was something that had to happen now because you're looking at that NFC South, and obviously, it's either Tampa or Atlanta. They're both fighting, but seeing the way both of these teams are constructed, it's very similar. But I think Atlanta gets the edge simply because they have the better defense, right? They have the better defense. They have guys like Grady Jarrett and Jesse Bates that are continuing to prove that they are masters at giving you a ROI on the defensive side. The biggest spread I could find, he says, is -6.5 for Lamar when he started. So there's some research by Japan. Like, again, a -8.5 spread, my man Michael Penix covered. That's fantastic, man. That is. So I would give the edge to Atlanta with the defensive, but Again, shout out to Tampa for, again, I'm a Baker guy, always be a Baker guy. Just watching what Baker Mayfield is made of, watching the leadership of Baker Mayfield, watching the toughness of Baker Mayfield. I mean, everything about this guy. And think about Cleveland, man. Are you kidding me? You know what? I hate to say that's what they get, but to let a guy like this go, not give him a chance, okay, and put all your eggs in that one basket for Deshaun Watson. And now you watch what's happening out here in Tampa with Baker, where you actually allow a team to be built around a guy that, number one, will run through a wall for anybody, and number two, is highly intelligent. Okay, nobody ever gave him that. That they never even gave him that lease of saying that he was an intelligent quarterback. Oh, and by the way, he continues to refine his skills. Think about that. He is continuing to refine his skills. And here's what I love about Baker Mayfield. This is the difference. This is the difference between a leader and a non-leader. Okay. And I don't care. You say what you want. But 95% of the quarterbacks, and I'm not going to call them out by name, but I've watched them. They throw a touchdown. Okay. If a drive stalls, they go on the sideline, they take their helmet off, they sit on the bench. Okay. They sit on the bench. Very, very few, okay? Very few are made like Baker Mayfield. And Baker, whether it's an extra point or a field goal, he is the first guy on the field giving a high fives to his team. First guy. He's not sitting on the bench. He's not over there sulking. He don't have a headset on or a headset off. That dude's out there and he's in the game, bro. Like, seriously. He's the first guy that is met. The first guy that meets his other players. And again, that is so huge. I can't tell you how big that is. And people that know football understand. People that know sports understand. People realize how big that is. And I think that's a very important thing about Baker Mayfield, that it is really, really flown under the radar because people don't look at all that stuff, right? You're right, Japan. Baker got that swagger, man. He does. And here's the difference, though. He had the swagger before, but he really didn't back it up because he was still learning. Like, he was struggling, right? He was struggling. Now he's backing it up, man. Now he's backing it up. He is. That's big time. Huge and great teammate. And he's talking about that. And that's again, that's what holds a team together. That's what holds a team together, the fight through adversity. That's what holds a team together. I mentioned this the other day, and I know Japan had watched it, but man, what a game. Okay. Between UConn and UConn and my God, I'm forgetting the team, but Japan will help me out. But Juju Watkins and obviously Paige Beckers, two next big things in USC. Thank you, Japan. Thank you. For some reason, like, you have all these things going in your mind, you just forget. I will say this though, and this isn't going to be this is not going to be a popular opinion, and I don't care, because I'm going to do a little rise and react segment about this soon. I didn't like what I heard from Juju Watkins after the game. Just throwing it out there. And I know they won. I just didn't like her. I didn't like her post-game interview. I'm sorry. I didn't like it. I could be wrong. Japan says amazing game, way better than college football playoff game. Fight me. I tell you, man. Yo, that was a slugfest. But I'll tell you this, man. I listened to Juju Watkins after the game, and I heard a lot of eyes and me's, man. I didn't like that. I didn't like it. I'm serious. I don't like that, man. I don't like that. In the middle of a date, what did I miss in the middle of a date? Yo, bro, you checking in the middle of a date? Come on. Like, I gotta. Is the date bad? Like, if you're checking in like, I'm sorry, man. I got to ask you: is the date bad? Like, what's going on? Or like maybe ask my man Christian checking in. I hope the date's going good, and maybe you're just waiting for some food or something, man. Um, my man Christian, man. We're talking all things, man. Yeah, get the date to check in too, man. Yo, there you go. We see your football. Is she date's cool. She went to she went to the bathroom. I love it. That's awesome, man. Yo, it's late, 12:25, man. Yo, man, good for you. Sounds like you getting some good grub on. Where you getting some good food on somewhere this time? You out? You at the club? Listen, man. All we're doing right now, Christian, is we're just rehashing the NFC. Honestly, I still think the Eagles are the best team in the NFC. I still think that there are a lot of good storylines in the NFC. We were talking about Michael Penix, seeing the way he really was just 54th Street, my man. Hey, man, listen, it's the night before. Actually, it's officially Christmas Eve, right? So it's after midnight. So, which is pretty cool. All I will say is again, my man, be careful, be safe, watch the idiots out there, watch those morons out there, don't know what they doing, acting like wild out, late nights, drinking, driving, you got to have eyes in the back of your head, man. You got to have eyes back of your head. Japan says 35 minutes for me. So you're almost there, buddy. You're almost there. But Christian, I like real fast, I was talking about, and I know you're going to check in, so I know after the holiday, because obviously won't be doing one tomorrow or Christmas, but we're doing it afterwards. But I just didn't like what I heard from Juju. I think Juju Watkins needs to just be careful with somebody. And again, listen, she could tell me to go pound sand. That's fine. She's back. Gotta go. We'll talk to you later. There you go. Have fun. And listen, man. Happy holidays, my man. Happy holidays and be safe. But Japan, I will say this. I don't know if you heard it, but I just feel like she needs to focus more. We said, hey, that she just needs to focus more on team. That's all. You saw Paige Beckers. I think she was the ultimate professional. She gets it. Again, they didn't lose because of the 2 free throws missed. They lost that game. Shouldn't have came down to that. That's a true. Listen, yeah, you would hope that they make the free throws, but again, it can't come down to that, right? There's other plays within that game that they have to be better at, and she knows that. So, but again, it's going to be a very, very fun year in college basketball, right? It's going to be a very fun year. WNBA is going to be outstanding. Like it always, there's so much to talk about and watch and witness, man. Like I am so excited that now women's basketball is on the map. I really am. And again, think about this, right? Before we get out of here. As again, this is live. This is the Tony Cutillo show. Make sure you hit the like button, you hit the subscribe button, get involved as we continue to grow the show, the community, the network. So many different, and again, make sure if you are a sports bettor, you get over to that sports betting page over there, Odd Shopper. The jigsaw pieces, man. We were 1 for 1 tonight. Gave out. I didn't like any parlays tonight. Gave out 2 plus money bets. So the plus money prop train is riding again because we hit 1 out of the 2, and we were only 1 catch away from going 2 for 2. So plus money prop train rides again. I say this, I'll say it again. Nowhere in the sports betting space will you get more plus money props that hit for $20 a month. Just throwing it out there. $20 a month. The link is in the description. Very, very simple. Get over there, get signed up, and enjoy your holiday with the Jigsaw plus money prop train. But here's what I'll say, Japan, and I'll say this in closing. All that stuff that's going on with the NBA about, the audience, it's not there. The ratings are down. Everything. They might get past, bro. Like, honestly, like the WNBA is appealing to a bigger and wider audience. And the people that are upset about the NBA game, and they're upset because it's the competition level right now. Again, tonight, though, if you watched the Philly and San Antonio game, you saw some old school competition between Tyrese Maxey and CP3, which I absolutely love. The stare downs, the shot for shot. Like that's what brings the audience in. And that's what the WNBA has been doing, right? That's what the college game has been doing. So, and again, so it's bleeding over into the pros, which I think is huge. I really do. I think it's huge. So I'm very, very, very excited about that. Yes, I'll be watching the WNBA over the NBA as well. I'm with you, Japan. I am 100% with you. But listen, everybody, I've never seen anyone get rejected. And he saw about Andre Drummond. He gets kicked out, and then the referee just says, yo, by the way, I effed up. I had the wrong guy, brings him back. It's so funny, man. But listen, at least she did it. At least she did it. But we went 51 minutes. I'm going to get out of here. I want to check in, talk about I still think the Eagles are the top team in the NFC. I still think that the NFC is strong and it's going to be so entertaining the last couple of weeks. But again, in closing, I'm so looking forward to 2025. This show will be on a consistent basis. It will be probably 3 nights a week on a consistent basis. There will be pop-up episodes. There will be a lot of other things. We'll have friends on the program, like my man Japan, as we get started and really get his WNBA and UFC information out there as part of the show. And again, I speak to everybody who's watching this. Not only do I greatly thank you for your support, but also I'm starting something this year to where once a month I want to highlight a nonprofit organization on the show. And I don't mean just throwing their name up there. What I mean is I want to interview live the person. I want them to share their story. I want them to share how we can help. I want them to share what they do, because in that space, they don't get the notoriety they deserve, but they don't ask for it either. That's the thing to remember. They don't ask for it either. So I want to bring this, back for them. And I think that, listen, we can at least get 12 throughout the course of the year, but maybe more. So if you have a nonprofit anywhere in the world that you use, that you're feel very, very strongly about, let me know. Hit me up in the comments. Or as always, you can email the show. You can see it right at the bottom, which is tcshow23 at gmail.com. If you have any suggestions for the show, if you would like to be a guest on the show, tcshow23 at gmail.com. Very, very simple. If you know of somebody that you feel like would bring some added support to the show, who wants to get started, let me know. tcshow23 at gmail.com. And last but not least, if you want to get involved anyway, whether it be just through contribution levels, through sponsorships, so many different ways to get involved as we grow this thing, tcshow23 at gmail.com. Everybody, again, from me, from fans, from friends of the program, like Japan, like my man Jimmy Mack, people I've already had on, Michael KB, Cordell Woodland, just to name a few. I've had my man Dave Glechter on the show. Obviously, so many different. Sia, going to be on Sia's space. Sia asked to be on one of his spaces in January, so tell my story. Can't wait to do that. But as always, man, we're in a great time of year. Lots of stuff to be thankful for. Let's stop with all the negative energy. Let's stop with all the complaining. Just remember, somebody can always have it worse off than you. There's always somebody out there that's living their own life, that's dealing with things that are probably greater than what you're dealing with, right? No matter what level it is. And that person probably has somebody that's dealing with something greater than them. So just understand that every day is a gift. I say all day, every day above ground is a good day. I'm in an extremely great space right now, great area in life. Just feel great, healthy, family's healthy, and And again, I hope that all of you are feeling the same way. From me to you, happy holidays, happy Hanukkah. With that, again, whatever you celebrate, whatever your holiday season is, from me to you, I wish you nothing but health and happiness. So we'll see you probably in a couple days. I will not be doing nothing tomorrow, obviously. Will not be doing nothing on Christmas. I will be putting my bets in. So if you are looking for the bets, they will be on the tails page on the jigsaw pieces. But as always, everybody, man, just continue to stay safe, continue to stay healthy. Happy holidays, and we'll catch you back here in a couple days on the Tony Cutillo Show.